So yung experience namin sa Piltover is I consider as good experience na rin sa amin patungo dito sa promotional. Lalo na nung dumating si Mirmo dun sa team namin. Actually, dalawang beses namin nagtatry ng qualifiers. Yung first time is na-DQ kami. So this time is, para sa akin, is yung pinaka-importante na qualifiers namin ngayon. Kasi marami na rin sigurong titigil sa amin maglaro. Especially me. Sana this time we can prove our worth.
And gentlemen, and good evening. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Good evening. Welcome to the Garena Pro Gaming Series Promotions and Relegations for the 2018 season. We are your shoutcasters for this next game. I'm Atlas. With me is Rockhard, and we just saw a very convincing victory from TNC Pro Team against SNZ.
That showed great macro control on the side of TNC. Meanwhile, I like that SNZ did survive. They kind of know their win conditions on that one, and they survived just right, sort of to the mid game. It was super even. If you remember,
yeah,
they were taking so much time to get their power spikes, and they were keeping TNC on their toes all throughout that game up to the mid game.
Man, but TNC was able to overpower them. SNZ puts themselves in a bad spot where TNC gets the ace, and then they just snowball the game from there. We'll see how different this game will be, or how similar. SNZ has to change up their pace of how the game goes, because right now they might be in a bad spot if they're not able to overpower or change up how TNC works around them. So of course they're banning up the Ornn, but they're still putting a lot of respect against Hayes' Rise as well as the Zed. As for TNC, they're blocking off actually a very diverse set of bans for this one.
That's right.
Ezreal, the Malzahar, as well as the Lulu.
I like that they stopped on the mid-focus bans because they saw that both mid laners are actually very high tier in terms of their micro. They're able to maneuver both their champions into positions where they had advantages. Santelmo, he really knew how to move the Corki in order to get into positions where he was not locked down by Hayes. And Hayes was able to stop Santelmo from kiting, and now these mid laners are going to be free to pick whatever they want. And looks like they're going to be reserving that for later stages of the pick.
We'll be seeing how the rest of the pick and ban plays out of whoever. SNZ. Now they're prioritizing the Jarvan for this one. It is a powerful pick for the jungle and a little bit for the top lane, but usually it is found there in the woods where he can just pressure the lane so much. TNC is picking up the Zac. Wow, that is quite a pick. I'm excited to see how it performs in the preseason as well as Jace. So just a huge artillery cannon that TNC has access to.
That's right. And of course, SNZ, they did see how effective that early game Jarvan was. They had a hard time Lock keeping it at bay, but it's just that Burst was super effective in that, and they want to emulate that right now as well. Meanwhile, lock-ins for that Misfortune against the Kalista. Wow.
That was interesting.
That's super interesting. Do you really want to pick a super immobile champion against a champion that jumps all day?
Yeah.
You have to have super amounts of coordination if you want to pull this off.
Yeah, it's going to be quite dangerous. We'll be seeing how SNZ reacts to that and how TNC reacts to that. With their second rotation of bans, they have 2 bans each. We'll be seeing what they want for this one. TNC still does not want to give... actually, Shen will still not be seeing play. There's a lot of focus on how the AD carries is. I noticed for this series so far is that Mirmo is highly mechanical, and if he gets ahead, it'll be very dangerous. Same with Demon Fanboy. If either him or Hayes get ahead, it's quite dangerous. So, really though, it's going to be very hard for Demon Fanboy, especially if there's a lot of focus coming from the Jarvan. If Kesseres is able to get good ganks on that low mobility AD carry.
Yeah, I like that Jarvan pick into the Kalista. That gives you a big area where if engages do happen, you're going to experience so much CC that Kalista is just going to burst you down. Meanwhile, on the other side, TNC opts for, again, another very tanky lineup here. But of course, I like that Jace pick. It kind of gives you a little mix of on the top instead of just having non-stop tank brawl going on. You can expect more of a, you say this, tilt on the side for
yeah,
the
there's
top.
a lot of artillery potential coming from that Jace, so it might be dangerous for Sanzuian if they pick up a top laner that is vulnerable to that Jace. And here, actually, TNC does not want to deal with the gangplank from Henzo at all, as well as the Shen. So that's a very top lane heavy ban focus for against Sanzuian rather. And here, TNC Pro Team, they might be going for this Varus. It is a very possible pickup that they can go for.
A mid lane Varus?
Mid lane Varus could be a pick that they can pick up. Hayes right now is it's a preview. He hasn't actually locked in his summer spell, but that might be with the Flash and Ghost, the Cannon Varus. If they're picking this up with the Jace, it is highly possible that they are both going lethality, that they can just whittle Sanzuian down with that artillery, that long-range damage, and it seems like Sanzuian is not having it. They're locking down the Galio and the Scion.
Wow, the dive pick here from Sanzuian. You have the J4, you have that Galio, and now you have a Scion. You really want to get in that backline if you're in the side of Sanzuian. Meanwhile, for TNC, you want to start the siege as early as possible if you want to get the most efficiency from this composition.
Just want to keep going now. Oh. This could be just support misfortune. It has worked before.
We have seen it in solo queue a lot.
I'm not sure how well it performs in Season 8, but it is highly possible that this could work. With Hayes going on that Victor, that's going to be a lot of wave clear, a lot of siege potential for TNC. But again, if Sanzuian can just charge in onto TNC Pro Team and overpower them, they can get ahead in this game.
The difficulty here for Sanzuian is, can they ramp up into that stage where they are tanky enough to survive the amount of damage that's coming from TNC? Because a super damage build that TNC is having here. Meanwhile, you need more resources if you want to do those dives. With the Scion, with the J4, they're not really super tanky. Well, Scion is, but of course J4, if you want to start that Cataclysm, you need some sort of tankiness, and that's going to take a while to ramp up. And TNC, they're going for the composition that wants to fight with more firepower.
This is quite interesting indeed, seeing how this all plays out for Sanzuian. They have quite a solid dive potential, and I've heard a lot of stories on how well Scion actually performs with the new runes being reforged. As for TNC, the Zac pickup is a little bit surprising. But it's not bad. It's
not bad,
actually
definitely
really good. And the support Misfortune is going to be absolutely exciting to see, and I am actually looking forward to how it performs against Callista and Janna in that lane.
What they're lacking a lot on TNC's side is they're lacking a lot of CC. They're gonna need a lot of CC if they want to lock down this dive comp that Sanzuian has going for them, and that's gonna be one of the weaknesses that I can see on TNC's side. If they have difficulty in locking down Mirmo is gonna go all out, and you're gonna have a hard time hitting her because of just how because of how mobile he is, and because of the lack of CC on the side of TNC.
There are a few CC options that they have.
Of course, for the Zac.
It comes in small
doses.
Here we've got Chains of Corruption, which is a highly potent engage tool or
high cooldown though.
High cooldown though. Hayes has the deterrence against Sanzuian with the gravity field, and of course there's that lockdown that burst can come out with the Zac, and a little bit of push away with TNC Pro Team for Icarus. So there's a little bit of CC. It really comes in small doses, or at least it comes very far apart.
A lot of them
and
are soft
still
CC.
Soft.
That's right.
CC. So it might be dangerous if Sanzuian gets the jump on them and they can't react fast enough. They can't plan out how well their soft CC can actually stop them.
And can Sanzuian create the macro that we have seen from TNC earlier? Because that's also where you have to look at. If you're Sanzuian, you have to look when you need to dive in to these compositions and where exactly. Because you have to know the position where you engage the team that TNC the composition that TNC has. Because if you do it in the wrong position, you are going to get locked down for ages. With the Victor, with the Misfortune, they can create zones of CC that is very difficult to escape. And of course, you also have the Zac, which will pull them back a bit. And that will, Zac is going to be the one who will provide the majority of the CC for the TNC Pro team.
TNC really needs to bring out a lot of guerrilla tactics as well. Fire from them, fire at Sanzu when they can't fire back, because they have so much potential to attack from range, so they can do well in these sieges and these defenses again near the turrets. But when it comes to the more enclosed spaces, they're also a little bit of an advantage because they have the Victor. There's a lot of room for the Zac to move around and CC. That's a perfect spot for a bullet time from that support Misfortune. So they have a lot of favored terrain. But if they get caught in that favored terrain, it'll be big trouble. And that's what Sanzu Yin needs to look for, is to jump at TNC when they're least expecting it.
The point of weakness on the on TNC's side at the very early stages of the game will be in the bot lane. Can this dual bot lane, 2 AD carries, categorized as AD carries, without built-in movement? Can they survive? And if they do, that's going to give TNC so much advantages. But if they don't, that might spell the end for them, and we might move into game 3.
That is going to be a big possibility. So, but I think TNC, they've had experience in the PGS. They are
they have been through many fights where they need to stall it out.
Yeah.
And they have been to many fights where they're facing a very large composition, death ball composition. And I'm sure they have experience in this. Will Sanzuian, as one of the new coming teams, be able to show and get past that defense? That's something that we will have to find out.
Also, if they're picking up this kind of bot lane with the Misfortune, with the Varus, with the Jace, this really sniping composition that they have with good team fighting and damage, they should have the awareness of what the cost of having that kind of composition is and what the strengths are. They have the experience and knowledge to back it up. So it really is going to be about how they execute it in this game 2 of Sanzu Yin versus TNC Pro Team.
That's right. So again, the strengths of this TNC Pro Team composition. They have the ability to take down towers really easily. You have 2 AD carries that can chip away at towers, and you also have a good front line in the form of Jace and the Zac. Meanwhile, if you have Haze here, that can create zones of displacement where Sanzuian will have difficulties entering.
Yeah.
That's where you will win. Meanwhile, on the side of Sanzuian, if you can get this Murmo to ramp up, to be able to chase comfortably, to be able to chase down people easily, you can't stop him.
Yeah,
it's going to be super difficult to stop this rampaging Kalista once he gets ramped up. But again, he has to start ramping up, and that's the win. That's the win condition for Sanzuian.
It really is going to be about how they play their early and mid games. That's going to shape how these teams can or cannot win.
That's right. Some teams, they rely on the late game. Some teams they rely on the mid game for those power spikes. This game, both teams are going to be so dependent on the early game. It's going to determine where they can push, where they can fight, and how much control they can get on the map. And so far, Murmo is getting whittled down by this Misfortune pick on the support. He's allowing Fanboy with so much farming comfort, and he's just going to dish damage to Murmo. And as a Janna, the best you can do is pop him shield onto Murmo.
Have the shield on Murmo and hope he can dodge a little bit of damage. And with the runes reforged, this is a Misfortune pick is actually doing a little bit of work here on the bot side. Arcane Comet being able to just pull off a lot of damage when the short-term trades. But it looks like Fanboy will indeed be going for a more attack speed-oriented Varus build. It is highly possible that instead of building the lethality like Ikaros will be doing, he will instead be building the Ginsus, all of that attack speed, since he is running press the attack instead of one of the sorcery tree keystones.
That's right. And of course, these keystones will only do so much. You'll have to wait where the mistakes happen on the side of here. And Hayes is starting to do that mistake. But of course, Santelmo not really got that much of a mana pool. I can expect these trades to be quite relatively safe. And I like that the Varus Misfortune pick is having a good success so far. Murmo is having a hard time going into the creep wave, and Fanboy, he wants to do some damage. Just a bit of a missed skill shot there from Fanboy. Otherwise, both lanes doing pretty well comparatively to their win condition.
Wants to go for something against Santelmo, but there with a counter gank is Kesara. They get bunched up together for the death ray with the stretching strikes, but I think Hayes has to run away from this. He is quite out of mana.
Santelmo
has to flash in to get that kill. First blood goes to TNC.
TNC knew they had to fight right there and then because of the mana pool of Santelmo. They knew they had the advantage. They went for it, and that's going to be an easy kill.
Oh man, that is going to be Icarus trying to go for something against Hanzo here. He will try and hammer him down, but he still has a cannon for him to go for it, and that is Aerie finishing him off. Will he go for it in zombie mode? Hanzo wants his blood. He is vengeful, but that's not enough move speed from the Frankenstein. Icarus gets a little bit of free time for the top lane. He teleports back absolutely quickly, immediately.
That's right. That's gonna equate to not so much of a loss in the CS, but however, that's gonna be a kill. That's definitely so much of gold for Icarus. Wow, that furry friend. That furry friend from Jace. I did not expect that to come up from him.
Finishing blow from the Aerie really helped him out. Because in the previous season, that wouldn't have ended up in an actual kill for Icarus, but here, that Aerie gives so much safe damage. It has been nerfed damage-wise a little bit.
Yeah, that's right.
But it's still quite potent compared. There's actually the interesting choice between Arcane Comet and Aerie, but here it seems like he wants to have a single target he consistently takes down, because if he wants to destroy Mirmo later in the fight, because Mirmo can just dodge away from the Arcane Comet by just jumping around. So here he's looking for Mirmo. He wants to take him out during the skirmishes, during the team fights.
That's going to give you a lockdown onto Mirmo. That's going to have him a harder time for him to dodge. And I like... actually.
It just flies at you.
You have to dodge you have to dodge the skill itself.
Yeah.
Which is, of course, very difficult, especially if it's a Jace from out of nowhere, from out of vision. That's going to give you so much free damage on that Jace, and Jace doesn't even have to be on screen to do it. That's amazing pick. That's amazing advantage that Jace has in this fight.
And he has a serrated Dirk, so these two cloth armors won't be. They will be mitigated. And Kesara wants to go for something, but he gets detected by Icarus.
Dear.
Icarus dodges the charge, but I think he has to fall down here. There is no burst to help him out, and that is going to be a kill onto Hanzo, equalizing this top lane.
Yeah, that's right. Hanzo, Icarus would have just. I guess the most optimal play there would have been just to take the minions that were there, because you were pretty much in a rock and a hard place. Like you mentioned, there was no escape from that one. I don't see... I like that so much of the resources have been expended on here, and that's basically the safest that you can get as in regards to ganks from TNC, because it's super difficult to kill Hanzo in itself. But yeah, so far so good for TNC, and now they're pushing the advantage.
Oh man, Hayes is actually quite safe, and here's burst for the counter gank. The gravity field. Oh, he gets kidnapped.
There you go.
By the Let's Bounce. Hayes is getting another kill, and Santelmo will be taken down as well by Kesara.
Nice try there from Santelmo. He wanted to just do the sacrifice, but TNC, they knew that they just needed to take them down, take the one down that is already channeling the skill. Just ignore him and just take his companion. You're good to go.
Yeah, and Orthros actually roamed mid there to try and help out. So here, Burst will steal a little bit of resources away from SNZ. And man, so far I like this little bit of relationship between the picks that Burst and Hayes have put out. There's Hayes, who deals a lot of AoE damage in a short time, and there's Burst, who can reposition Kesara and Santelmo in such a way where they get stunned by the gravity field, as well as damaged by the
field,
the gravity field, rather the death laser.
Yeah. So basically, you have Zac there in burst. wherein you can lock. That's their lockdown ability. And speaking of lockdown,
oh man, that is going to be
Fanboy
a chase
goes
of
for it.
corruption onto Beast. Burst actually dives in. Look at all of that damage coming from Demon Fanboy. Kesser arrives a little bit late to the party. He might pay the price for it. There's a lot of damage come from TNC.
Oh.
The DOT actually takes him out, and this gives TNC complete control over this bot lane.
the MF pick is showing up exactly when Burst does. That's where you see the advantage of this composition. If they're alone, they're quite squishy, but once you add Burst into the mix, they become such a threat. It's become so hard to establish. Where's the damage coming from? Is it coming from Fanboy? Is it coming from Arphos?
There's so much damage in general, and I like the Zac pick in relation to the rest of TNC's pickups. Icarus trying to help himself out against Hanzo, but the creeps actually just stop him short from damaging him. But I like that later, once we see the 4v4s, 5v5s, Burst will be there to reposition the important targets for SNZ and have them open to attack against the skill shots that TNC has.
That's right.
Imagine Burst stretching strikes onto Mirmo and Kesarasera, and then the laser, the shock blast, the piercing arrow all come down on them.
Imagine the amount of damage, especially if you're in that gravity field where you're automatically locked down anyway. So
SNZ has to be absolutely careful how they do this.
And because of these advantages from the composition, just the composition itself, TNC has accrued a really gigantic gold lead here of 4.5k.
At around 10 minutes. And
10
looking
minutes.
at where it's actually focused on, it's not an optimal distribution, but of course having that gold on Burst means he can pressure a lot of these other lanes.
Burst is so big, he has not even spent that much yet. You can just imagine once they do their backs, how much of a tilt in power in the map is going to happen. Cloud Drake is going to go down with so much ease, no contestation whatsoever. And now, since Zui win, what are they going to do now again? They're stuck in a place where they have to react, and they just want to get as much from the map as possible. Of course, Murmo, he wants to get started on this camps, on these creeps, and of course, it's going to be an easy respawn from TNC.
Oh, that is
let's see what happens.
The shock blast. Ooh, but a chains of corruption. Not hitting.
I like that. So that was sort of just a pre-mitigation for TNC. That was a sort of a prediction. Of course,
Beast was able to react fast enough.
Suzuyuin was not going to go for that,
Yeah.
obviously. And good reaction time there from Suzuyuin. You just need to keep it safe. Again, we talked about their composition. What they need to do, they need to stay safe until they get to the points where they can fight and kite as comfortably as possible. That's where they're going to get their win conditions, and so far TNC is playing more to their win conditions a lot better. Since Zuyuin does have a chance, this is still pretty much anyone's game. Despite this gold lead, I don't feel it out so much on the map. They will have an ability to climb back on. Again, this is so dependent on Murmo.
Waiting for it. Burst as well as Kesarasera right here, but they get bunched up forcibly with a stretching strikes. That is going to be the Monsoon to help heal them back up. This is an opportunity for Hanzo and the rest of Sunzui Yen to go for something against TNC, but it ends up in a stalemate, and still SNZ now on the offensive as Demon Fanboy is put down to below half health, but Burst still wants to go for something. Hanzo is not the tankiest member here right now, and he falls down. Kesarasera has to jump away. Santelmo's trying to go for a pincer attack here. It's actually working. The zombie form of Hanzo actually doing a lot of work as Santelmo gets the revenge kill. Demon Fanboy trying to run away from two members, but is going to be the Winds of War not being able to finish him off. But Burst now trying to go behind enemy lines.
Oh, you're
here.
tanking towers there, bro.
But he is still quite healthy. Burst will try to escape, but I think Mirmo is going to take away a kill. That's an opportunity for SNZ. TNC bites off more than they could chew.
That's right, and that's the power. What we were talking about earlier, the win conditions forcing Zuyuin. Is their tanks tanky enough to sustain the fights while Mirmo dishes out the punishment? And we have our answer. Santelmo was able to ramp up enough items to be considered tanky enough in himself, and that gave so much of an advantage to SNZ. Remember, they were the ones who were diving under the tower at that point, and they were playing around it so well.
And now this actually gives them a little bit of gold. Still
A bit of gold
in
back.
terms of-
Yeah, just that gave them like less of a 2K in regards to gold, but of course the rest of TNC wanted to get that right back in with that big creep wave coming into Demon Fanboy's pocket. Let's have a look at that one, where we see the dive coming in. You're kind of curious because Hanzo already fell there, and they were under the tower. Everyone's super low, but Santelmo, he was zoning out everyone so hard. It was giving TNC such a hard time in getting into position. Murmo is super safe in this point, and they can chase everyone else with ease. They were healthy enough to just ignore the minions, and of course we'll see here. We know that Burst won't survive this. A few tower hits there. And of course, this ends with Burst getting cleaned up by Murmo, the worst person to give the kill to in the front of SNZ.
This means that the gold distribution for SNZ is actually better than TNC.
That's right.
And
it's all in Murmo.
yeah, and however, one of the things is this shows another weakness to this TNC composition. If they're being attacked from two angles at once, here Santelmo is quite tanky, but he gets pulled back into the mid lane. He tries to fight back, but he just gets firing squad on him. But yeah, TNC, if they fight in two angles, that's because the thing is you can only shock blast, piercing arrow, or death laser one place at a time. But here,
Taking hold that clock.
yeah, Ikaros just falls down as Hanzo charges on him, and they will have control over this bot lane. But yeah,
So what we were talking about, those siege components, they're not present in that one, and that was an easy kill there.
TNC though with
SNZ.
control over this mid lane, this
That's
will
right.
open up the map a little bit.
Oh, the
Has to
revenge.
go for the heal.
Yeah, that forced Murmo into the Fate's Call, and now we are in pretty much a game where both teams are fighting for these outer turrets, and the gold lead is keeping steady right now at 4K. That is amazing. But of course, it's going to be brought back into more than 5K by TNC. Demon Fanboy is showing some really good macro and understanding of this game.
And having these objectives taken down by TNC means that they have more access to the map. It's much more open to them. They can put down their wards aggressively. Burst can move around those areas where Sanzu Yin doesn't have vision over.
That's right.
And that is important because they don't want to get caught, like in that earlier fight where Sanzu Yin almost aced them. They don't want to get caught by attacks from two angles because they can't defend against two angles.
Especially from the Zac, you don't want it to just go into your face out of nowhere. It becomes so much more crucial to get those wards out, and that's going to give you some unnecessary dangers. Some unnecessary risks, that Sanzu Yin has to take if they want to keep control of the map.
But here they are fighting strong indeed. They are going for these objectives. Cloud Drake again will be the objective for this game. This could be a fight because look at all of that damage. Here they have to split off like they did earlier. Why TNC was having such a hard time in that fight near their top lane first tier turret was because they had to pay attention to where Santelmo was also. They could have been dove from the side by that Galio, and that's not something that they were really eager to do, and that's why they weren't able to be as aggressive against Inzui.
That's right. Both teams have components, champions that want to take advantage when you're not looking. On the side of TNC, they have that Zac, wherein, of course, from the blinds, from the darkness, it's going to be super dangerous. And of course, Santelmo on that Galio. So difficult to find out where it's going to come from, and the Rift Herald is going to get taken down on Suzuin. That's a great macro advantage if you can lock it down.
This is dangerous, however.
Orthros just wants to poke it, and of course wants to take some HP and just stymie or just force that back at least. And of course, that's going to be everyone's reset on the map. That's an advantage, that's an objective over to Sanzuian. And the gold lead is holding steady at less than 3K. I like that. They are keeping it right there. And if you do keep it right there, it doesn't matter if it's 3K. If Murmo is allowed to farm like this, if he is not contested, how much damage can he dish out?
Yeah, indeed. And the longer the game goes, this 3K gold lead, if it goes steady, it matters less.
That's right.
Because it's more about how the percentage of how you are ahead over the other team. And here, if they're keeping it steady, Senzuian is in a good spot. TNC needs to make something happen by sieging these inner turrets. They have to press the attack. No, not referring to the
right. I see what you did there.
They have to continue assaulting and pressuring SNZ. Right. They have so many tools for it. Just the fear of having the Zac jump on you should be enough for SNZ to back off from these turrets that TNC wants, and they have so much artillery power to do so.
That's right, and they need to take advantage of the Zac, because that's where your power lies. You have the ability to control the tempo of the game with the Zac pick, and you need to take advantage of it as early as possible. Because if you wait, if you allow SNZ to scale, it's going to be more difficult.
First, Ikaros will be wheeling on him as well. Hanzo is a little bit tankier now that he has to flash away, but he's diving back in to let Santelmo jump in on him. That is going to be him locked up. Ikaros has to go for the run here. He has to run away, but that's so much CC coming from SNZ, and they take Ikaros down. Burst has to run away. There's not enough damage from TNC to finish this off. Burst is trying to flee. Arthros is dealing a lot of damage. He is in Cell Division form, but look at the top side of the minimap. Hayes is doing a lot of work on that top tier turret, and he might actually take it down, but that is trading 2 members of the team for that. And here comes SNZ taking advantage of Hayes being stuck in the top lane by summoning the Rift Herald.
That was just consolation prize there for Hayes. The rest of SNZ, they pulled that off quite nicely, and this Rift Herald could in fact take more than 1 tower in this mid lane fight that we're seeing right now.
They are diving Demon Fanboy, and Arthros has to run away. They don't have a frontline tank to stymie these charges, and that's it. Once SNZ gets a hold of a little bit of a lead, once they can dive onto TNC, they will be left in a very difficult spot. Ikaros and Hayes attacking from a different angle just to finish off this Rift Herald. Still able to get her last charge out. Very little damage, but that is a small win. A huge win, actually, for SNZ
That's
to go
right.
for that.
SNZ, they're starting to take control. They're starting to do the executes, and they're pushing to counter TNC's burst.
And that is going to be Mirmo with 4 kills, 2 assists. That's actually a lot that they can work with Mirmo. As long as Mirmo is left alive, he's their main source of damage. They can actually take out TNC because they're going to be running away from the tanky chargers of Senzuian.
You know what, Atlas? It is becoming more evident that as time passes, it is getting harder and harder for TNC to reach Mirmo. As his attack speed ramps up, he's having more abilities to jump, more chances to jump, and it's becoming harder for TNC to lock it down. And that's again attributed to the lack of hard CC that they need to lock him down, to root him into place for the rest of the members of TNC to wail on him, and that's just not happening right now.
And that really does bridge the gap here. It gives Senzuian a lot of freedom near the mid lane. They have a lot of territory because they've taken down these turrets. So now that SNC can go for more plays, they have to be able to get out the wards, however, because right now TNC is dominating in that regard. They have more information, and information brings victory in League of Legends. So they really have to pay attention. They don't want to get caught by that Zac. And now TNC can potentially fight back. They just have to be absolutely certain that they won't get jumped on from different angles.
I totally agree. In this game especially, wherein you have initiators that rely on you not having vision, you need to sweep more. You need to place those deep wards more than per usual. Because the team that has more vision will win. They will have the advanced surprise
they will have the initiative.
Yeah, the
they
advantage.
will have the advantage in terms of how they move, when they move, and when they actually pull the trigger.
In this case, you want to be the team that dictates where you fight. Because if you fight in a narrow corridor, Mirmo is going to have a harder time to fight with you. And TNC, again, that's going to be for TNC's advantage because of the amount of zones that they have. If you compress that into one area, that's gonna allow for fast HP bars disappearing on Senzui.
Yeah, the best places really for TNC to fight are in these jungle and jungle corridors.
That's right.
Where they can lock Mirmo in. His fighting style as a Kalista is going to be jump around, but in these jungle, he can really only go in one axis, and that's backwards. And that gives TNC a lot of room to play around with the Zac, with all of their AoE damage, all of their poke.
It will allow you to dictate where Murmo runs to. And if you know where Murmo runs to, you can predict where to focus all of your firepower in. That gives you a win. But is that going to happen now? Because we see that TNC, they just want to go for the big objectives instead. And they want to bait the rest of SNZ into these narrow corridors. When will this fight happen?
There are really 3 places where TNC has an advantage. That's in the jungle, near turrets, and one possibly is near these epic monster pits, because that is quite a lot of enclosed space for the AoE to come from. Burst can possibly dive in this, and he's actually doing it now, but he's being wailed on by the rest of SNZ's damage. But look at that! Damage from Orthros, damage from Haze, damage from Fanboy is taken. But look at all of that counterattack potential from SNZ, but it's not enough. Mirmo's their only source of damage, and he gets taken down as TNC gets a triple kill and an ace on top of all of that. And that was just a huge mistake from SNZ. TNC takes that Drake too fast for them to actually make a play for Baron.
Wasn't this exactly what we were talking about? Have them in those corridors where Mirmo cannot move around, and you take away the vital piece of information, the vital piece of strength that SNZ has on this replay. You see that they were engaged on really well into the pit. 3 members are out of position. And Murmo, he didn't know what to do. Burst wasn't dying, but the rest of this team was. And this Galio ult wasn't even necessary at this point. The rest of TNC were outside of the range. Everyone on the edge, on the side. Murmo didn't know who to focus, and that's where their demise came from.
Because of the angle of which that fight occurred.
The entrance of Burst,
wow,
that was
SNZ
amazing.
is still going for a move onto this Baron.
Wow.
They're still trying to do it.
Are you serious
TNC
right now?
has so much advantage in this fight. They have the long range poke. They have the piercing arrow and shock blast. They can just attack SNZ when they're at their most vulnerable. They're taking so much damage from TNC, and they can get attacked from 2 angles. Demon Fanboy could be a little bit of danger, but Beast falls down. There's no more disengage. Ikaros jumps onto Mirmo. He's solo, and Demon Fanboy finishes him off, and the rest of SNZ is just running away from the members of TNC, but they are a relentless bunch. Burst is going to dive in. Demon Fanboy could fall down against Hanzo, but that zombie falls. And this is still going to be SNZ a little bit ahead in this fight. It was a 2 for 3, but that Baron was stopped, and it was still such a dangerous way to go.
You can see that TNC did not expect that at all. Demon was up on top when that happened, and the rest were in the middle. They did not expect SNZ. That was really ballsy.
That was crazy.
Yeah, that was super ballsy to go for that. Super unexpected. They could have actually pulled it off.
Yeah.
If just they lacked the sweep on that last ward, and that gave away their position. I could have seen that to work.
That's another replay.
On this replay. Deja vu, guys. But right now, it's a bit of a different issue because they're not locked into the Baron pit. They had more room to maneuver, and Santemo was the only one locked in. Of course, it's going to be a flash out, but the rest of TNC, they were getting wailed on by the Baron. They looked like they had a great engage, but now they were in a position where that the rest of SNZ had the ability to dish out the damage, and now that gave us a fair fight of all games. They just came from a loss at this point, and they got off with even a one-man advantage.
Win.
That's
they still lost the Baron, but the important thing was, for that fight, Demon Fanboy was not in a good position because TNC could not.
They caught it by surprise.
Yeah, they didn't predict that the Baron would be the objective immediately for SNZ. So that's why Demon Fanboy wasn't in a prime position to attack.
Yeah, that's what we call in usual terms. We usually call that a reset already when you end the fight and everyone's ace and everyone just goes back into like, oh, dangerous. No, I don't think they're gonna go for this at all because I think they've learned their lesson and they're not gonna go for strike 3 at this point.
Almo sees them, but they are gonna go for this Galio.
Oh,
and
there you go. There you go.
Down with all of the damage. Where's your tankiness? Oh man, he has the Morellonomicon and the LP, the Gulp. That's not a lot of tankiness.
That's right. Super miscommunication there for SNZ. They thought they had it. They thought they were safe. They were not.
Beat through the Baron. Burst trying to go for something. He does not have cell division, I believe.
Good job there for SNZ. They sort of just chipped out at Burst just to stop them from tanking that Baron.
Still very dangerous to stay around here, though. Beast and Hanzo looking for a little bit of respite and a little bit of information by pulling down those wards. Sanzu Yin, good move, knowing that TNC is hesitating to recall, goes for this mid lane turret. This is great for them. They're taking this very, very quickly.
Yeah, that shows both teams are trying to control the tempo. They're trying to do their own plays. They're not just reacting. At most of these cases, they want to start the fight in their terms. And most of this is, of course, on TNC. They want to start on those narrow corridors, like we keep iterating. But right now, I think Sanzurian, they also want to bait
Burst
TNC
wants to go in. That's a long-range elastic slingshot. But the Tornado, the Howling Gale, stops it short.
Well-placed Howling Gale there from Beast, and I like that. That stopped the full engage from TNC, but of course that gives also TNC control over that Riverside. That makes you wonder, if you're Sanzurian, do we go in or do we wait for them?
Going in. He still gets stopped by the Howling Gale. Kesarasura has to jump away. Here comes the Cataclysm. Here comes the Hero's Entrance coming from Santelmo, and he's still dealing a lot of damage. Arthros falls down. Icarus is not here for this party, and this is another small win for Sanzurian.
And again,
they are pulling, inching towards that victory.
Well, we were talking about Murmo. He is the key to Sanzurian's victory. It's getting harder and harder for Demon Fanboy to position himself, because the rest of Sanzu is super mobile at this point, and they're becoming braver and braver as they become tankier.
Icarus wants to go for the
not the
beast,
case.
but Hanzo will be the sacrifice. He cannot get into that redemption. He is going to come back from the grave with his passive, but I don't think he has enough actual damage for that. Burst could possibly be bursted down by the Ran, however, not enough. Beast is recalling at a very dangerous spot.
Again, he
has to go for the Fate's Call.
Out. That would have been
crazy. This game's crazy.
The Fate's Call there used just to save Beast. Again, gets caught out. That's exactly what happened earlier when I was just talking about Sanzu being comfortable in being able to survive. He gets caught.
Oh, that could mean the Baron for TNC. Sanzu Yin is not in a position to contest as they have to defend the top lane from that huge wave. Kesarasura not even in time for that Baron, and this is a good spot for TNC. They have the sieging potential. They have two great sources of poke. They have all of this wave clear.
And you have to wonder, how much is TNC going to survive? Once Murmo gets ramped up, his items are starting completion at this point. And wow, look at the amount of clear that Murmo can do. Imagine if those were champions that did not have mobility. For example, this
the Varus and the Misfortune. But yeah, you have still to note that SNZ is still behind by 9,004 grids. That is possible.
Doesn't feel like it though.
Yeah, that's because of the team compositions. TNC can't stay in the fight as long as Sanzu Yin can.
That's right. And that's surprising, because that should be translating into more...
Icarus takes down Santelmo.
Wow,
Santelmo isn't tanky at all, so Icarus is able to actually take him down solo. This could be an opportunity for TNC as he's dead. That's a long Death Knight of 40 seconds. How much can TNC Pro Team do with that time?
And of course, with those death timers though, you have to wonder how long they can start their full-on team fights, because that's what TNC wants to do. They want to win by a whole team fight in general. Meanwhile, on the side of TNC, they want to just kite you to death using Murmo, and they're just going to keep on protecting Murmo. How will you engage this once you have a team that has a lot of damage and tank sources?
They're not getting a lot of value so far from the Baron pit. What I think is they should be going for the side lane.
Yeah, they're starting just on the river. What's the use of Baron if you're on the river?
But here they are going for the side lane. I do think it's too dangerous for TNC to go for the mid lane push with the 0-4-1 configuration. If they can go for a 4-0-1 configuration, that's good, because in this type of composition, you don't want to get attacked from two angles. From three angles rather. If you're in mid lane, there's so many angles to attack you from. But when you're in the side lane, there's only two options: from in front or from the side.
And of course, that's what TNC wants to do. They don't want Murmo to just pop out of nowhere once again. And now the split is working in favor of TNC. They are getting more gold.
Oh, they might start to fight. Burst has to move away. Hanzo is drifting in. Haze is right beside him. He is going to get knocked up. He will be the sacrifice, but Demon Fanboy still takes out Kesarasura. but that's going to be one of the...
That's one of the weirdest fate calls I've seen
yeah,
in a while.
But look at that bot side. Icarus is not even in that fight, and he takes out that bot lane inhibitor. SNZ distracted for long enough to take that.
TNC knows that they cannot take this just by firepower alone. They split up the rest of the map, and when they left Icarus,
oh man, look at that damage coming from the bullet time. Burst and Orthros take him out, so Telmo has to retreat. Beast as well. Icarus is behind enemy lines, but he's just going for it. He's going for Hanzo without any fear because the rest of TNC destroys that tower and starting to pull in. Burst has to run away, but the stretching strikes almost put him back into the death range. That's 2 inhibitors for TNC, and they're looking for more as Fanboy is still full health. He still has a lot of attack speed in him. They might be looking to take out his Nexus turrets. Mirmo is not available for half a minute, so Telmo as well. They might actually just take out this Nexus. This is such a desperate defense from SNZ. They are not stopping. There's no damage from Sanzu Yin, and they might just take away this second game and defend their spot against Sanzu for the PGS. That is, oh, Monsoon doesn't heal the Nexus, and that is going to be TNC 2-0 against Sanzu Yin.
It is amazing the smart calculations that TNC had to do in order to get that fight, because they were not taking off the game from Sanzu Yin just from pure firepower. They were taking it so well. They split up the rest of the map. They made advantage of this Baron buff.
Messed up my hair.
And they messed up your hair so much.
Because that was such a well-calculated and crazy ending. Because they were chasing, Sanzu Yin was chasing the top side of TNC so far ahead that Icarus had a lot of free time bot side. Once they realized that, they were trying to defend. But at that time, the map was so open for TNC that Icarus could just jump around, dance around, and take them down. And
with that win, TNC Esports, they secured their spot from Sanzu Yin, and they're definitely in the PGS for Spring 2018.
Definitely. I love how they played that, because as soon as they realized that Santelmo and Mirmo, their only damage sources were gone, they just went straight for the win. I have to bet that some of our casters are sad right now. Chisto and Arctic a little bit on the sad side, but of course, TNC proving that they still have what it takes to be in a PGS.
Yeah, not to mention, of course, we have to also note that Barcy's Rage Esports, they're also in the PGS. Congratulations to both teams, as you are going to be joining us in the PGS Spring 2018.
Of course, we're going to have more promos tomorrow. There are a total of 8 teams vying for spots. We've settled 4 teams today in these 2 best-of-3s. We'll be having more esports action for you with the promos and relegations tomorrow. Of course, we've been your shoutcasters for that very last game for today. I'm Atlas. With me was Rockhard, and we'll be seeing you tomorrow. Fanboy is put down to below half health, but Burst still wants to go for something. Hanzo is not the tankiest member right now, and he falls down. Kesarasura has to jump away. Santelmo's trying to go for a pincer attack here. It's actually working with zombie form of Hanzo, actually doing a lot of work as Santelmo gets the revenge kill. Even Fanboy trying to run away from team members, but is going to be the Winds of War not being able to finish him off. But Burst dive into it. He's actually doing it now, but he's being wailed on by the rest of SNZ's damage. But look at that. Damage from Orthros, damage from Haze, damage from Fanboy is being taken. But look at all of that counterattack potential from SNZ, but it's not enough. Mirmo's their only source of damage, and he gets taken down as TNC gets a drum. TNC, they can get attacked from 2 angles. Demon Fanboy could be a little bit of danger, but Beast falls down. There's nowhere to disengage. Icarus jumps onto Mirmo. He's solo, and Demon Fanboy finishes him off. And the rest of Sanzu Yin is just running away from the members of TNC, but they are a relentless bunch. Burst is going to dive in. Demon Fanboy could fall down. He's still going in. He still gets stopped by the Howling Gale. Kesarasura has to jump away. Here comes the Cataclysm. Here comes the Hero's Entrance coming from Santelmo, and he's still dealing a lot of damage. Arthros falls down. Icarus is taken out. Santelmo has to retreat. Beast as well. Icarus is behind enemy lines, but he's just going for it. He's going for Hanzo without any fear because the rest of TNC destroys that tower and starting to pull in. Burst has to run away, but the stretching strikes almost put him back into the death ray. That's just such a desperate defense from SNZ. They are not stopping. There's no damage from Sun Yin, and they might just take away this second game and defend their spot against Sun for the PGS. That is, Monsoon doesn't heal the Nexus, and that is going to be TNC 2-0 against Sun Yin.
It is amazing. The smart